Whether it's their adorable eyes, fluffy fur, or friendly face, there are some animals you can't help but want to snuggle up to. However, there are a lot more creatures out there you should avoid touching, let alone snuggle, and not just because they ain't cute. From acid-spraying arachnids, to fiery furballs, and even newts who possess a sinister superpower, get your safety gloves on, as we take a look at some of the most dangerous animals that you should never ever touch. Acid arachnid, anything with pinchers and a long whip-like tail is probably best to avoid, and that's certainly the case with the vinegaroon. Looking like the cursed love child of a spider, a scorpion, and a lobster, this 3.5-inch long arachnid hails from the southern USA and Mexico. Yet as horrifying as these critters look, they aren't venomous and they rarely bite people. So what's so dangerous about them? Well, for starters, soon-to-be vinegaroon mamas carry their brood around on their back and look like something that's crawled out of the depths of hell. Yet the dangerous defense mechanism of these beastly bugs is even more spine-chilling. When threatened, the vinegaroon sprays a sour-smelling liquid from the glands on its abdomen. But it doesn't just smell bad. That menacing mist is acetic acid. Ever notice the bitter taste of vinegar? Well, that's due to the presence of this acid in the liquid. But whereas vinegar includes about 4% acetic acid, the solution sprayed by the aptly named vinegaroon contains around 85% concentrated acetic acid, making it a whopping 20 times more acidic than vinegar. Unsurprisingly, skin contact with such a strong solution can be corrosive, causing severe burning and ulceration to the affected area. So it's best to keep away from these acidic animals. Otherwise, you could be left with more than just a sour taste in your mouth. Bugbear. If for some reason, the vinegaroon didn't put you off handling bugs, this next critter certainly will. Introducing the giant water bug, an insect found in ponds, marshes, and streams throughout the world. As their name suggests, these guys are beefy, stretching a fearsome 4 inches at their largest, making them the same length as a standard wallet. If their supersize wasn't terrifying enough, these critters are also capable of delivering a painful bite to anyone who gets too close. Considering that they can take down ducklings, fish, and even venomous snakes. Yeah, that's a full snake it's got in a chokehold there. That is not something you want to experience. Anyone unlucky enough to get bitten by these bulky beasties can expect intense pain and numbness around the bite mark. You may be wondering what kind of sicko would approach a giant water bug in the first place. Well, the body of these cunning critters closely resembles a leaf. So anyone looking to innocently pick up a frond could end up feeling the wrath of a giant water bug. If that wasn't enough to have you frantically fleeing from these bugs, then this sickening sight certainly will. Yep, that's a giant water bug covered in eggs. Males of this species cart around their unhatched young on their backs, taking about 2 weeks to hatch. Now, despite what a lot of clickbait media sites claim, touching or squashing your hand down on a pregnant papa probably wouldn't leave you with a mangled hand. But would you really want to test that? I mean, can you imagine if the young suddenly hatched and burrowed their way through your palm? Oh, bah, 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 bah. Thankfully, the giant water bug babies aren't big diggers, so no trypophobic nightmares here. But even still, I won't rest until I've got a restraining order from these terrors. Pesky parasites. Now water bugs may be content not burying their way through your flesh, but this next creepy critter loves to tunnel through humans. Jigger fleas are the parasitic insect found in Central and South America, as well as Africa. These guys are only about the size of a needle tip, yet despite their slight size, you don't want to touch them, or rather, have them touch you. Pregnant female jigger fleas are known for burrowing into people's feet before sucking the host's blood and developing their eggs. Over the next few weeks, the female's abdomen swells up with hundreds of eggs. Then after giving birth, she'll die before rotting inside the victim's skin, leading to an infection. Multiple lesions can lead to the areas of someone's foot becoming infected and deformed, with some victims losing the ability to walk and even requiring amputation. Ay, caramba. Much like the jigger flea, the kissing bug is another insect that you want to keep well away from. These critters hailing from North and South America have a reputation for getting intimate. As their name suggests, they favor biting humans around the lips. Luckily, the bite's painless, but that's the least of your worries. After feeding on your blood, these horrors will defecate inside you. Not only is that gross, it's also dangerous. The kissing bug carries a parasite, Trypanosoma cruzi, in its feces. When this is passed on to a human, it can develop into Chagas disease. Anyone infected can be left with flu-like symptoms such as fever and headache, but the struggle doesn't stop there. As many as 30% of infected people develop far more severe medical problems years or even decades after the initial infection. This can range from stomach pain and an enlarged esophagus to heart failure and cardiac arrest. Man, these bugs really need to learn a thing or two about consent. Jeez. Well, I bet you won't be touching any of these super creepy crawlies anytime soon. But you know what you can touch, those like and subscribe buttons down below. All done? Great. Okay, brace yourself. What horror have we got next? Sea scares. Ooh, things are getting a little intense. Now let's relax for a minute at the beach. Ah, the soft sand, the gentle crashing waves, the abundance of venomous sea urchins and deep sea horrors. Wait, that last one doesn't sound relaxing at all. Well, the coral reefs of the Indo-West Pacific Ocean are the residence of the flower urchin. With such a pretty name, you'd assume these guys are okay to pick up, but that's not something I'd recommend. You see, these sea urchins get their name from their flower-like pedicellariae, but these artsy appendages don't just look pretty, they're also filled with tiny sensors, which detect threats through touch and chemical stimuli. When agitated, these fearsome feelers will immediately snapshot and inject venom into whatever disturbed it. To make matters worse, the claws of the pedicellariae may also break off from their stalks and cling to the point of contact, giving them the ability to continuously inject venom into whatever touched it for hours. Not good, especially considering that flower urchin venom contains a dangerous neurotoxin that can produce numbness, muscle paralysis, respiratory distress, and even death. But don't just take my word for how nasty touching these things can be. Back in 1930, a Japanese marine biologist who was stung by a flower urchin described feeling faint giddiness, difficulty of respiration, paralysis of the lips, and being unable to speak or control facial expression. Doesn't sound so pretty now, does it? But this gainful bouquet isn't the only sea urchin that you should avoid touching in the shallow waters of the Indo-Pacific Ocean. With their massive 12-inch long spiky spines, Diadema setosum are sure to stick anyone dumb enough to pick them up. If getting impaled by the sea urchin wasn't bad enough, their spines are venomous too. Fortunately, their spines aren't quite as potent as a flower urchin's pedicellariae, but getting poked by one is still sure to leave you with some nasty swelling and a lot of pain, as these spikes are brittle and have a tendency to snap off in the skin. Yikes. If you travel down to much deeper depths between 1,000 and 7,000 feet, you may come across venomous giganteus, also known as the giant isopod. Whoa, what is that? Well, basically, it's a woodlouse. Well, a woodlouse that lives in the sea and is absolutely gigantic. Cousins of the teeny tiny woodlouse we find on land, these aquatic isopods can reach a spine-chilling 20 inches long, making them about the same length as a standard pillow. Talking of pillows, I'm not going to sleep tonight with thought of this marine menace munching on my arm. Though they are meat eaters, they're predominantly scavengers who live off carcasses of animals that drop down into the deep dark depths of the ocean. Because of how far down in the ocean they tend to dwell, there have been no reports of giant isopod attacks on humans. Good, great. Still not going to be able to sleep tonight knowing it exists, but fine. Sucker punch. Being the size of a golf ball, the blue-ringed octopus makes the giant isopod